Welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taherian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam.
Welcome back to the show. Hannah, you're having a great day. I know you are.
You know why? It's because it's your birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
2 days ago?
It's my birthday yesterday. I believe this comes out the day after.
Happy birthday yesterday. But
Thank
you know what?
you.
By the time while I'm recording this, I'm still planning on being on time to say happy birthday to you. So
listen, if you don't, podcast's over, like we said.
If that's what this is hinging on, I've got bad news for you.
It's the long game that I'm just, this is a 2-year long plan. No, I mean, multiple years based on our friendship, but it's the long game to be like, if Hannah doesn't remember my birthday this year, I'm just going to destroy her because that's all
Hannah,
I've been doing.
Who can't remember her own birthday.
It's true.
Forgets my birthday.
This is not a joke, by the way. This is a true thing. This is a true story.
January 19th, I was like, oh, it's tomorrow and we're recording.
You are Liz Lemon. You're like, oh, last week was my birthday.
Look, it's not, I don't like that I'm like this, but I remember yours.
Yes.
So,
Thank you. Thank you for remembering my birthday a day later on the show.
How was your birthday? Not that you know, because we're recording.
I don't know at the time of this recording, but I assume it'll be mid. It'll be fine.
Good start.
Thanks.
Everybody on the Discord, go say happy birthday to Kaveh. Go.
Yes, a day later. Also, speaking of getting older, I had this funny story. Last week, I went to the optometrist.
Ew. Oh, just kidding. I thought you meant dentist, and I wanted to scream.
Optometrist, the eyeball doctor.
The eye dentist. Sorry, I forgot.
I went to the eye dentist.
The optometrist, the eye dentist. How was the eye dentist?
The eye dentist was great. I love my eye dentist. I've been going to her since I was in school. So I've been going to her like forever. Yeah, since I was in grad school. So it's like well over a decade. She's hilarious. She's totally like, I go in there and you think an eye doctor is going to be like kind of like a dry person who's just going to like whatever, tell you to look at the chart. We end up chatting for a long time, always, because she always has the most random funny stories. But anyway, the reason I bring her up is because, not to embarrass her, because I love this story, but basically we were talking about, I was telling her about the show and she was like, oh my God, you have a podcast? She's like, I don't even listen to podcasts. I don't really know what they are. She was like amazed by it.
She's like, you and all of my other patients.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in LA.
I feel like that's how LA doctors are. They're like, cool.
Cool, great. Yeah, you're an actor? Fascinating. Yeah, I'm sure. Cool. You're a storyteller. Thanks. No, but we were. She was like, I don't even know when people listen to podcasts and stuff, because she's like fully removed from it.
Whoa.
And then I was telling her about like, sometimes a lot of people listen to it when they're like washing the dishes or like going on a walk or like at the gym or something, or like they're in traffic. Anyway, giving different reasons. And she was like, oh, that makes sense. She's like, I'm not like a person who wants to stay at home and like lift weights. I got to go to the gym and I got to go work out and stuff. And she's like, and I like to go on the treadmill. And when I go on the treadmill, I can't just listen to music. I need to like have something that's kind of like interesting to like keep me occupied. Yeah. And I was like, oh, really? What do you do? She's like, I watch videos of car crashes. And I was like, what? And she's like, I like to watch videos of cars crashing while I'm running on the treadmill. And she's like, and then sometimes I'll be like, oh, and I'll scream with my headphones on. And then she's like, everybody turns around and looks at me. They're like, who's this crazy lady watching car crashes on the treadmill? And I was like, I will never stop coming to you after I was like, you will never not be my eye doctor is the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Job security. Because whatever that is, I understand, but I don't have words for it. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Where it's like, if I'm going to be running on a treadmill, that makes sense in a weird way.
She's one of us. She's one of us. This is the greatest. I've been going to her for well over a decade, and I was like, I don't even know you. I don't even know the depths of how great you are.
I love the idea that there could just be some optometrist watching car crashes at the gym. I wouldn't even know. Everyone around us just leads these. They're all their little crazy things.
Yes, she's fantastic. To my doctor. But other than that, I feel like I seem to be in okay health, knock wood, which is good. I'm 42 now.
That's good. Hey.
Ancient.
That's pretty young. That's young, man. In 20 years, you're going to be like, that was young. That was young.
I wish I was 42 again. Now I'm prospecting. The prospector therapist.
They don't get that. Right before this, we made a new character.
Yes.
And it's called Dr. Prospector, and he's my therapist.
I was trying to gentle parent Hannah down because she was upset, but I was doing it in the prospector voice.
You're having a lot of big feelings.
A lot of big feelings there, Hannah. It's okay to take a minute and take it to yourself to calm down. It doesn't matter. You need it. I don't know what voice I'm channeling there, but it's something.
Look, it does the job. Just like
It
car
calmed you down.
crashes do the job for your doctor.
Do the job for my for my eye dentist.
Dr. Prospector is a great therapist.
Yes. Moving on. You're up first this week. What have you got for us?
Oh, my goodness. Well, to start, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Happy
It's
Pride.
the start of Pride Month. June.
My favorite meme of that is like, there's so many memes that just make fun of corporations, deservedly so. They're the best. My favorite one out of all of them is the Bernie Sanders one, where it just says, "I am once again gay."
Every June it rolls around.
It's my favorite. It just brings me so much. It's so just to the point, and like so just blunt, and always makes me laugh.
The target. I am once again gay.
Gay.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I am still bisexual. Or as that one, what was it? Boeing sexual the other day?
Boeing sexual?
You sent that meme that was like...
Oh, right. What was it?
That was like
Bro, I don't even remember.
LGBT, Lockheed.
Oh, right.
And then the B stood for Boeing. And I was like, I'm Boeing sexual. So I'm taking this opportunity right now to come out to my friends and family as Boeing sexual.
Boeing sexual.
None of these Airbuses, okay? I don't swing with Airbuses. I only mess with Boeing.
Okay.
Next time on My Strange Addiction.
My Strange Addictions.
Is in love with a plane. Okay, my tab today started way too big. Just massive subject.
Yeah.
You know how that goes. I got myself in deep because I was like, it's Pride Month. It'd be fun to do something about a gay person or something. You know, one of them.
Hi, gay.
And I've been like, I'll just look up some fun LGBTQ people from history. Of course, that was what was I?
I was going to say in history. In history, it's never fun. It's never fun for them in history.
No, I know. But here, I'm trying to find the silver.
We're trying.
Okay.
It's maybe like the past 10 years, maybe then it's like kind of fun. But in history, typically not great.
Look, our first Boeing sexual president, Abraham Lincoln, would consider that. Who would say otherwise?
He was the bisexual boy boss.
He was. And everyone's like, he was gay. And I'm like, erasure. Anyway, I started reading about list of LGBTQ people throughout history by decade. Okay. And I was like, of course, I'm completely drawn to World War II era because, it's kind of the biggest turning point in our whole civilization in the last few hundred years.
Sure. Yeah.
And it turns out it was kind of like the biggest turning point in LGBTQ history. And absolutely set the stage for what the fight that was to come, that opened a lot of doors that I didn't expect. A lot of them were sad, but I'm going to choose to also somehow make this funny. Okay. Because I'm delusional and have no concept of how long things take. I was like, I'll pick one person from each letter of the LGBTQ.
Oh, dear Lord.
What is wrong with me?
Reading those names after that many is like half your tab time.
Yeah. You tell me about it.
Yeah.
It's been an insane 24 hours.
Yeah.
So then I decided it wasn't fair. I can't just put 4 or 5 people into one episode, even though I thought I could. And
you're going to cover all of LGBTQ in the history of time. That's the new show.
New show is 500 open.
LGBTQs? I don't know.
The T stands for tabs. I don't know.
Tabs.
Punch me. Punch me into the bog.
Sponsored by Boeing, the Boeing Corporation.
My lover. So I thought, well, June has 4 weeks in it.
Okay.
Why not focus on
the letters? Pride. Okay, every week?
Each week.
That's fun.
Yeah, and specifically, this ended up sounding like a research paper. Specifically, the thesis for these next 4 episodes is how LGBT service members, spies, civilians, etc. contributed to laying the foundation for the post-war gay rights movement. But also the civil rights movement and women's rights movements and how they all... Anyway, this sounds super scholarly and it's just not.
No, it just sounds very ambitious that what you're doing. This is interesting.
Yeah, ambitious is a good word for...
No, I think that's great. That's like a huge... I'm interested to see how you're going to land this plane over the course of like 4.5 weeks. This is going to be intense.
Through Boeing, all is possible.
Yeah. Famously good at landing planes.
Famously good at landing planes. Hey, they do land.
Oh, no.
They do land in some
Let's see what happens midair in the middle of one of your tabs. We'll see.
So I've reined it in and thought, okay, I'm just going to focus on one person for each. Sorry.
Okay.
And again, I'm an idiot. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do my
Mm-hmm.
best.
Mm-hmm.
So this week means I'll be focusing on lesbians.
Lesbians.
In
Ding,
World
ding, ding,
War
ding, ding.
II.
All right.
The tab
Love
I
it.
dove into. Oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
The tab I dove into is a series of interviews in the 80s and 90s by Allan Berube. And
Okay.
he is a gay historian and gay historian.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to him, we have a ton of firsthand accounts of like oral history of, service members that were LGBTQ. And the main one I'm going to link to is one by Pat Bond from May 18th, 1981.
Cool.
And I'll also be drawing a little bit from an article that she wrote called Murder in the Women's Army Corps.
Oh.
I'll get to Pat a little later, but starting at the beginning,
Okay.
before World War I, right? The only way women were officially allowed near the army in any way was like as a nurse or a camp follower, which is like a nice way of saying prostitute.
Camp follower? I've never heard
Camp
that term
follower.
before.
I had heard of it, but I didn't really realize that meant prostitute. I just kind of always thought like, oh, those are the ladies that hung out near the war camps. But now that I think about it, but they were there for morale boosting, I guess.
Now, camp follower, of course, is a person who loves musicals and follows them from city to city because they love camp.
Oh, you're right.
Zing.
So there were a lot of examples in human history of women serving alongside men in battle in other countries, like China, for example, had like a tradition of women, and so did Thailand, actually. Thailand and Vietnam had female fighters all over the world. For this, I'm focusing on the last 2,000 or so years Western society, which barely let women do anything. In World War I, the need for more people was great. They were like, bro, we're killing so many of our men. We need more men. And after a while, they were going to run out of men. So they were like, fine, we'll let you work, women. And so they started letting women make munitions and drive ambulances and do other stuff. And also like introduced African-American women to jobs that weren't just service jobs, which is where we had, there was emancipation, but
yeah, not really.
Barely. So they got like upward mobility and learned clerical skills. And by the time World War II came around, the Axis and allies alike, women were like, let me at it. I want in.
Everyone wants to kill Nazis. Doesn't matter what your sexual orientation, your gender, whatever.
So,
unless you're a Nazi, then you don't want to kill Nazis, unfortunately.
Dude, I found a page called Nazi Lesbians, and I was like, I don't feel like this right now.
Listen, don't limit lesbians to not allowed to being Nazis.
Support gay wrongs.
Yeah, gay wrongs, exactly.
Anyway, I didn't click on that one. I was like, maybe another tab for another day when I focus on evil LGBT.
Listen, no group is a monolith. There's terrible people no matter where you go.
Turns out there were some pretty evil lesbians in Germany in World War II. So I say that with laughing way too much. Where was I? Oh, so World War II came and all the women were like, yes, we all want to kill Nazis. We want to help get this, And so they formed this thing called the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps in 1942. And it soon became upgraded to the Women's Army Corps, its own little thing, not auxiliary. It was like officially made. Yeah. And it was
Listen, my stereo is messed up, so all I keep thinking of is upgrading from auxiliary to Bluetooth, which is what I would have wanted these things to be changed.
Women's Bluetooth Corps.
So you don't have to just put in the auxiliary input. Sorry, that's where my mind went. Continue.
The
auxiliary, the Bluetooth core has been the upgrade, so now it's wireless.
The Women's Bluetooth Corps, the WBC, the WAC, whack. Which is what they all call it. I watched the interview with these like old ancient lesbians, and they're like, "Oh, all the whacks were doing this and that." I'm like, the whacks, great. Highly recommend watching interviews with veteran lesbians. Incredible, truly incredible. The military appointed Oveta Culp Hobby as the first director of the WAC, and she was very like Southern conservative, straight woman. And the plan was to end the WAC as soon as the war ended and allow female soldiers to, quote, return to their families and primary duties as mothers and wives. Lesbians' favorite words. Propaganda of these idealized women. They would create propaganda posters of these idealized women, like serving as telephone operators and translators and air controllers and photographers. And it worked because all these women were like, that is exactly what I want to do. And not only did like over 100,000 women end up joining,
Whoa.
but a percentage of them were also Black, Native American, Latina, and other minority populations.
Nice.
And it was the first time that these women were all, like white women in particular, were mixing.
Exposed.
I hate that word. Exposed to other types of people. And for the most part, they were like, whatever, yeah.
They were like, gather round and let us tell you about how being a white woman is the greatest, most difficult thing to be in the world. Latina woman, Black woman, Native woman.
Who's
sit down and listen.
Please listen to me.
Yes.
A white woman is speaking. And it sucked because I was trying to find some really good examples of Native American and Black lesbian soldiers in this unit, but because those groups are a lot more like,
yeah, I was gonna say that's not something you probably want to telegraph outside of that group.
They did not
just for the broader population, but also for whatever population you come from.
Stepped into the background and entered straight appearing marriages,
for preservation. Which was
such a bummer because there's a few and we'll get to them, but so there was some segregation in certain areas because of course it's 1940. But many units just ended up ignoring the standards of the time, and were like, whatever, we're all sisters.
Yeah.
Now, don't go thinking the U.S. was like progressive at all.
Oh, don't worry.
Don't
I never do. That's not a thing you ever have to worry about with me.
I know you love mid-century politics because you love America and what they
almost
did
as much as I love the English. Yes.
Me too. Britain sexual. I'm Britain sexual. The only reason
Boeing has been replaced by Britain.
By Britain. The only reason they allowed this, and they even made propaganda being like, look at these brave young women, is because they were in desperate need of men at the front lines. Mm-hmm. And necessity enabled women to totally step into the force and end up proving themselves. Yeah. And they highly underestimated a woman's ability at doing what men did. I know.
That's what?
This is weird for you to hear. I know that.
I refuse to believe this.
Believe women. And they didn't realize how much women didn't want to go back to how things were once the war ended. So these whack women.
These women are whack.
These women are General MacArthur. These women are whack.
Whack.
These whack women were described by General MacArthur as his best soldiers, probably in a way to like humiliate the men into becoming better.
Right. A little bit of reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm. He said, but it turned out they were extremely good.
I was going to say, I can also see them being his best soldiers.
They were. He said they're more disciplined and organized and complained way less than men. This bothered male soldiers greatly, and it actually pissed off like every American. Mm-hmm. Everyone was so annoyed. They're like, I don't want my daughters and sisters, going and wearing almost men's clothing and doing man things. And the men who served stateside.
I like how the fear is more about their outfits and what they're doing, not the potential of getting killed.
Oh, they don't care. No. Look, it would be an honor to die, I guess. But yeah, they were like, oh, they're wearing a shirt with a collar.
Yeah. People wearing T-shirts with logos on them instead of... Back then, a man would wear a hat and carry around a switchblade. That's another 30 Rock reference, sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll watch it. I tried to wear a collared shirt dress today, but it's black, so you can't even tell.
I can't even tell.
Just
now my rage is coming out that you're wearing a man's shirt. I don't think
you're about to fire me from this podcast.
Because I'm in control, that's for sure. This is my favorite thing is like when any of the women I know that I talk to like on a daily basis even make that joke with me because I'm always like, as if I have control over anyone.
And we just laugh and laugh.
You guys all just let everyone, my wife, you guys all laugh at me with that same kind of like, deep laugh. Yeah.
Although I don't actually think that. You know that, right?
No, I know. Yeah.
I mean, look, when I think of you, I don't think of a deep need for control.
Authority.
I can't imagine you ever having a deep need for control.
Not over other people, funny enough. No, exactly, that's the funny part. It's always
don't take
like
it out on others.
Right. I'm like, I just need you to stop putting speakerphone on in public and then to drive correctly. Yeah. That's all I want.
That's all I want. It's not, I don't care if you're a woman or a man. Just stop doing it.
I don't care. Just don't bother me. That's all I want. I just want to be able to sit quietly and do things and not be disrupted.
Understandable.
Listen, take the animal orgy outside where it's quiet, not in the coffee shop where I'm trying to do work.
God bless. My Go animal do it. Orgies wherever I please.
Not in the communal area. where it's meant to be quiet. Anyway, sorry.
Wow. I just imagined I'm not going to follow that train of thought. So the men who served stateside at a desk who wanted to kind of have like more cushy, who managed to get like a cushier job in the army, were suddenly being pushed out and shipped out overseas.
They're like, oh no, that's me. I'm the guy who's like, I want to fight, but I'm not like, I'm not going to go fight. I'm not good.
I'll do some propaganda
me with my
posters.
farsightedness. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, it's a waste of my talents.
You're not getting in the Navy or the airplane corps.
They
What's
would
it called?
eat me alive.
Air
Are
Force.
you kidding me?
The Air Force.
I'd maybe go be an eye dentist. That's as far as I'd go.
Crash that plane so fast.
I have terrible vision.
Yeah, I don't. I have astigmatism, and if I didn't have it, I'd have 20/20 vision.
Oh, interesting.
Which is weird.
Question.
Whatever.
What do you think you'd be best at on the battlefield? Honestly.
Ooh, interesting. I have pretty good aim.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pretty good like as a sharpshooter.
Yeah,
because
that's my thought too.
I don't have the muscle that a male soldier has, but I think I'd be really good at like obsessively fixating on one target.
Exactly. That's my thought too. I think I'm like,
me
even with my vision, no, I'm saying I that's how I would.
Yeah. I think
I understand. I know that within
shooters.
soldiers, there's a hierarchy where people think that like that's sharpshooters are they look down on them a little bit because they're like far away and they like pick people off instead of like going out and fighting.
But yeah, sharpshooter.
I think so too, because I think it could hyper focus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's again, even with the vision, it's like a hyper focusy, like super, it's like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'd be good on the battlefield.
It takes math, but like, I don't think it's the kind of math that's going to like destroy me. Like, I think there's once you get it, you get it. Like once you can kind of like aim and figure out how long it'll take for it to arc and all that stuff. I think it's kind of a natural.
Also, I have like
I don't know.
as you know, I have like super hearing and super smell, but like it just disrupts my daily life. Everything I smell everything and I hear everything and it drives me nuts.
I have it not as bad as you, but
no,
but
I have bad.
I used to be a super smeller and then I got COVID and it's never been the same.
Oh, you know what's happened recently to me is that like it was the same. It was not bad, but it just wasn't to the heightened ability that it was before.
That it was,
Past 3 weeks, it's just come raging back where it's like I'm smelling everything and it's driving me insane. I mean, I'm excited that I kind of have it back to the extent that I feel like I had it pre-COVID, but I don't know what happened. But suddenly I'm like, oh, everything is smelly to me.
Dang. I don't miss it. I used to gag when I was doing dishes or brushing my teeth. Anyway,
sorry. Continue.
Congrats.
We haven't even talked about like the thing that you were trying to talk about, which is a lesbian sharpshooter.
Lesbian.
Is that what we started?
No. No.
Oh,
so
no, that was
how the men were all like, I wanted a desk job, and all the women were like, sorry.
Oh, right. The desk job people got sent off. That's right.
Yeah. And so all these guys were pissed because they're like, this was my chance of not being at the front line.
Getting killed.
Lady is gonna, but this is exactly their plan. They're like, we need able-bodied men to shoot some Nazis. And husbands.
Or we need able-bodied men to be in front of the bullets of Nazis.
Yeah, to be a meat shield.
We need human shields, yeah.
That's the thing. That's the unglamorous part. I mean, there's nothing glamorous about war. But it's all just meat shields.
Yeah, very much.
It's just propaganda to become a meat shield.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, husbands greatly discouraged their wives from joining because a lot of them wanted to. And they were like, if you join, you're going to become some camp follower whore.
Yeah.
And fathers were also
make my
like,
cigarette jello every night if you go do that.
Like, who's going to bear me 8 children? And so most of the women who joined were young single women. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were like, they're just going to become whores. That's all they're going to be. And a lot of the male soldiers were expecting that.
Yeah.
They had like this weird misunderstanding of the whack because they're like,
we're sending the ladies, fellas, to come out to Italy.
They were like,
they're all like,
finally, some moral.
Yeah.
Poor guys. They got there and none of their flirting worked. None of their propositions worked. And they were like, why? What's wrong with these women? So they thought they were going to be like morale boosters, and some of them believed that that's what they should be like. That's more important to have morale boosters in the form of prostitutes than have people working desks and guns and air traffic control. They're like the stupidity of a 19-year-old soldier, male soldier, is vast.
Yeah.
Like what? That was what they wanted. Much to their chagrin, that did not happen because not only did they do an amazing job at their jobs and at the men's jobs, but they were all lesbians. 90% of the WAC were lesbians.
Nice.
That's a lot of lesbians.
It's a high turnout.
Like, and that's an estimation because, of course, not everyone was out.
Sure.
Now, this makes sense to me. It's the first time women were invited to participate in something that was considered unladylike and be lauded for it.
Yeah.
And as a tomboy, I grew up very tomboyish myself. That sounds inviting to me. Yeah. And I don't like war, but I could have easily seen myself as like an 18-year-old being like, that sounds way more fun than whatever I'm about to do back here. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah. And so the women who couldn't blend into society as easily, who weren't as straight passing or butch and struggled fitting in, were just like, I am there. Let's me
do
in.
It. Yeah.
And they get there and they realize they're not the only ones to think that.
They're like, this is just the best.
Just a bunch of lesbians. And even the femme lesbians were drawn in. And many people joined and they were like, I didn't know that I was a lesbian until I stepped foot in here. So oftentimes a woman would join and realize when she got there that she was like, this, my whole life makes sense now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Suddenly validate, all the life experiences are validated.
It's almost like my subconscious brought me here.
Yeah. It pulled me here without me realizing.
Yeah.
Just by seeing some ladies in nice uniforms. And it gave closeted lesbians access to respectability in a field that women weren't allowed in. It gave them access to other women, and not just, I'm not saying sexually because a lot of people just jump to that. That, of course, is part of it.
No, but just community.
Community, yeah. Other people like them. Other people that were built more muscular or that liked sports, because that was considered unladylike. They formed baseball teams. They formed like sports teams within their units, and it became this huge like camaraderie. Like it was not camp. It wasn't like camp, but it had that.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
you understand. Yeah, like almost the sisterhood of it, where it's like they suddenly had full range under the guise of like serving the military and the army, which they did, to finally actually like look at themselves, which would never have happened otherwise.
It's and beautiful. I love that.
I do too. And this is like thousands and thousands. Like there are accounts where they say even the straight girls were like, yeah, that's how it is here. Turned a blind eye, covered for them, and sometimes radically accepted their lesbian friends and co-soldiers.
Which is baffling to me that the at any point that the army or the armed services or the Navy or whatever would be anything other than what we call woke. Because you're like, just give people space to be whatever the hell it is that they are, and they will go kill people for you. They don't give a shit, and they'll do anything you want. People want so little, and they will give you so much in return. It's just
nothing.
Like baffling.
It's absolutely nothing to let a girl have a girlfriend.
Right, exactly.
She'll still be a good air traffic controller.
Right.
Just let her have girlfriend.
This is the fundamental thing that every morning I get up and I scream into like nothingness. You're like, it requires nothing.
It's fine.
It's fine. So little.
It doesn't hurt anyone. Except the ones who get their hearts broken. But don't you want them to have that opportunity?
That's just part of life.
That's part of life.
You're like, cool, I have an awesome like lesbian crew that will like beat the shit out of everybody in terms of like achieving their goals and stuff. And I'm like, why would you not want that in there?
Dude,
it's illogical. Even if you're the most pro like military, like insane kill everyone person, I'm like, you actually don't really believe in the military, because if you did, you would allow it. You would fight for these things to happen so that your military becomes the strongest.
Lesbian brigade.
Yes.
In a heartbeat. Dude, 100,000 lesbians?
Yeah. Apparently some people didn't really want to fight the Nazis. Not enough anyway.
Well, actually, it was funny because everyone was like, "Get these ladies out of here!" But the army generals.
Apparently, you love Nazis. That's why you didn't. That's why you wanted to get the ladies.
Somebody like Hitler? Oh, you hate licking Hitler's boot? I wanted a desk job, and now I have to kill Nazis. But the army general is like,
I mean, don't make fun of that person because that's 100%. Like I said, I don't want to get shot in the face. I want to make the cool posters.
I know. I just like to mess.
I understand. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Me too. I want to do propaganda. Don't put me anywhere.
Don't put me on the front lines. I will fail you.
I'll be part of the Boeing sexual brigade of women. I'm not stopping making that stupid joke. Okay, so the
How
army
dare
was
you
like,
on this podcast? How dare you?
This serious academic podcast. So these thousands and thousands of women were suddenly realizing that there is a huge community, and there has been a silent community this whole time. Mm-hmm. And together, just like brotherhood in the army, you can do a lot when you're like in that like
part of a group.
When you're part of a group.
Yeah.
And
safety.
It's safety. And it got to the point where, so in Pat's interview, Pat Bond, the woman whose interview I drew a lot from, she talked about how at the end of the day, there was tolerance if they needed you. So if you, which is how it is today, which is how it always is. It's like, it's always conditional. And she talked a lot about how it's important to understand that it can be taken away at any time. Mm-hmm. And that just because, you know, I want everyone to read her interview. It is so funny. First of all, she's hilarious. Says the funniest things I've ever heard. Just this grizzled old lesbian who's just like calling people. It's amazing. I gotta find some quotes. But she talked about how when she joined, she actually wanted to be part of a community of lesbians because she was from a small town in near Chicago. And her stepdad sucked and she wanted to piss him off. So she was like, I'm going to go to Catholic school because he hates Catholics. So she goes to a co-ed Catholic school and immediately realizes she's a lesbian.
She's this is the best decision I've ever made.
Like, whoa. I should have crush on a nun. And then she was like, I want to become a nun. And the nun looked at her and went, you're not going to be a nun. As if to say, no, you're too much of a lesbian to be a nun. Go find a girlfriend. Because a lot of the nuns were also lesbians. Anyway, there's these places they go that you could always go to in the past where you could be in a safe space. But so she went to Catholic school and she knew early on that she wanted to become an artist of some sort. So she liked poetry. She liked reading. She all that. So when she joined the WAC, she was like, cool, now I can meet more lesbians and I want to find a partner. I want to find love. Like, this is a great opportunity for me to actually explore my sexuality in safety. And she went to basic training at Fort Oglethorpe, which later became like a witch hunt for lesbians a few years later, which was horrible. But it's funny because a lot of them were like, you know, all the straight girls were like not saying anything. And it was just very much like, anyway.
Protected.
I'm not going to go into that because it's like a whole other thing.
It's also interesting that I would imagine they wouldn't do the same in the men's side.
No.
For the whatever game they did protect.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
that's
no,
cool.
no.
Oh, no,
sorry.
they didn't. I was like, no, I'm saying that the men, they would not provide that same courtesy to the gay dudes that showed up.
No, not
I
at all.
imagine they would immediately be like threatened and outed, but it's good for the straight women for actually being
certain
good allies.
Certain straight women were not. Like, they'd write home and be like,
sure, not everybody, of course, right.
Bunch of lesbians, which is what triggered these searches and these.
Yeah.
So on admittance, Pat said that she was brought into her room and said, "Are you homosexual?" And because they knew, of course, because all the commanders were lesbians. Anyway, and she's just said, nope. And they're like, great, you're in. And it was fine. And
you passed the test.
You passed the test of lying to an army official. And she ended up in the South Pacific acting as a nurse. Okay. And she mentioned that most of the women she interacted with were indeed lesbians and that they loved sports. And she was more of a bookish type. But she was just like obsessed with the fact that she could turn anywhere and meet another lesbian.
Question. Did they mention what kind of sports they're into? I'm very curious.
Baseball.
Baseball? Okay.
Yeah. Softball and baseball.
Nice.
Very much so. And she found a woman who became her partner and actually got to, figure herself out a little bit. And how
old is she at this time? I'm sorry. This is like right when she's like 18, 19?
Early 20s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. After college. And once the crackdown started coming, because they started realizing Eisenhower was like, oh, there's a lot of gay people in the army.
On his bench, as he sits on his bench.
And he sits on his bench, looking like the gayest man in the United States. Sorry, Eisenhower. Calling a kettle, whatever. So Eisenhower was like, can you ferret out all these lesbians? And they soon realized that if they wanted to get rid of all the lesbians in WAC, they would no longer have WAC. And so, the commanders were like, okay, then we're all going if you're going to do that. And
you're sure about that?
After a while, Pat said that they just started being like, it's the whole don't ask, don't tell thing where they're like,
yeah.
We desperately need you guys. As long as we can make it look like you guys are upstanding, straight, chaste women, then that's all we need. And that's what they did. So, and Pat ended up after the war, she ended up having to flee she had to marry a gay man in order to protect herself from the witch hunts or from like the getting ratted out or whatever. And she ended up moving to San Francisco and becoming part of the theater community out here and becoming a comedic actress. So so funny. And she does she did these one woman plays about her experience as a lesbian in the WAC, and they're hilarious. They're so funny.
Nice.
So that was Pat, and she's hilarious. And
Pat Bond, right?
Pat Bond, yep. So she talks a lot about those things in her interview, including all of the when the military started turning on them, because once they didn't need them anymore, that was when they were like after the war, they were like, okay, we're gonna get rid of these women, and we don't need them anymore. And it became this really terrifying, really horrible witch hunt where it was just like they'd send them to therapy, they'd do shock treatments on them, they would drug them, they would Freudian psychology was involved. There was all these misunderstandings, obviously. There was it was awful. And I don't want to go into that because it's truly one of the most horrific things I've ever read about. Yeah. And if you want to read about it, you should, because it's important. That this happened in the United States of America 70 years ago. You can look at that in her interview. She goes into a lot of that, and then how she dealt with it, and then what she did afterward, and all this really interesting stuff. But I just want to focus on the good of this, what good came out of it, because this changed everything. The war not only gave women the opportunity to hone their skills and to actually realize they could do stuff, it gave thousands of women, lesbian women, the confidence in who they are, and to take those lessons home with them and create an LGBT community in their own city. And
that's great.
They went home, they spread out, and they became pillars of their society, of LGBTQ society, and they laid the foundation for the modern struggle for gay rights. And this
they have leadership skills, and they've been through all this crazy, they've seen through some terrible things. So it's interesting that they'd be able to get, once they're integrated back into society, they're bringing these skills with them.
Exactly. And they're bringing these friendships with them, and relationships.
Community building, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. And once you open that Pandora's box of your sexuality, you can't put it back in.
No.
Nor should you. No. And there was no putting it back in. For a lot of them, yes, they ended up marrying men, and because they wanted children. They wanted, they wanted their complications with their families, obviously, their religions. There's a whole bunch that goes into it, but many of them fully leaned into their identities. In the 1940s, which was insane.
Crazy. Yeah.
Went to San Francisco, built these big communities, and
basically
lesbian
walking around
women,
with a target on your back in certain areas.
And really embracing the butch aspect of lesbianism that was completely unacceptable at the time for women to dress as men. Yeah. Anyway, they brought all their skills, and they took full advantage of the Army's desperation and turned it around on them. Just you want to teach us how to be awesome? All right.
Yeah. We'll take it.
We'll take it, and then we will ruin you in a good way. So they met.
No, and then we will make San Francisco even better.
Yeah.
And we will improve societies that we become
in
leaders
every way. And these same women would go on to later, during the AIDS crisis, lesbians were the ones who were the caretakers, to the point where it used to be called GLBT, and then they changed it to LGBT because they wanted to put lesbians first because of how much
I didn't know that.
Carried. Yeah. How much they carried. That's
really interesting. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
During the AIDS crisis, is that they had learned a bunch of these skills. Yeah. Because of the way they carried the community.
Whoa.
And I know, it gave me chills. I was like, oh my. So without the WAC, I don't think we would be where we are today. Or at least not as organized, or at least not as... They literally trained an army of lesbians.
This is awesome.
That's the thing. They made their own bed. Sorry, society's changing. You can't just put that back away. And some honorable mentions that I didn't have enough time to talk about were Phyllis Abry, who, her and her girlfriend Mildred, I gotta find this photo, were actually...
That's such a 1940s name.
I know. Mildred and Phyllis were featured unknowingly by the Army on a propaganda poster. So here's the picture on the poster. I couldn't find the poster.
Pro-lesbian one or what?
No, they were just photographed, and then
hell yeah.
They thought it later. They're they had no idea we were in a romantic relationship. And there were these two ladies operating a switchboard or something.
Yeah, they had headphones on and it's a crazy hat. It's a beanie.
Yeah, looks like it, one of those messenger hats. Anyway, yeah. And then there's Lorraine Hurdle, who I'm just obsessed with. She's so cool. Lorraine Hurdle was an a black lesbian who served in Germany in the WAC. And she is the most photogenic,
I was gonna
awesome
say,
person. I just want to hang out with her. In
yeah,
all the photos she is in, she just looks like
it's a great
she
picture
could be
too.
my best friend. Oh, yeah. The look in her eyes is just like, yep.
That stylish jacket and like a turtleneck and the hat,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
She looks awesome. And when she died, she donated all of her photos from the war.
What's her
And
name
they can
again?
now, Lorraine Hurdle.
Lorraine Hurdle, like a hurdle that
Yeah.
like you jump over,
Uh-huh.
kind of. Okay.
Yeah. And Lorraine's whole collection of photos can be found online at the Online Archive of California. And they're some of the coolest representational photos of what it was like. So those two women
I
were
know
also
someone who
very
would love
interesting.
to see all of these. That's why I wanted to.
Oh,
Look
you
them up.
do? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll send you the
I was
link
like,
to
she would be
the
obsessed with this.
some of these photos of Lorraine. I'm just, like if I joined the WAC and saw Lorraine, I'd be like, oh, that's it for me.
Oh, she's playing pool.
Yeah.
She a
And
pool
look how
champ.
cool she looks when she's playing pool.
I mean, I feel like generally speaking, you don't look lame when you're playing pool.
No. But all these photos
It's hard
of
to not look
her-
cool when you're playing pool.
And then here's a
Here
picture
she is
of
on the
like,
baseball team.
yep. In like the 70s, here she is with some of her fellow soldiers. And they're just having a blast.
Nice.
Anyway, there's a lot of really fun photos in her collection if you guys want to
Love
look at them.
old
And
photos.
that is my tab on the Women's Army Corps and how it set the stage for the gay rights movement.
Fantastic. I loved that.
Yeah.
That was
Thanks.
some shit I never would have even known.
I know. And you know what? There's not much about it. There's a few
I don't-
books. Even now, there's just not much. So salute to them.
That's super cool. I love that. I love that the Army and the Navy, the American military unintentionally franchised lesbianism throughout the country.
And unintentionally trained women to absolutely take their power back, like in every way.
It's awesome.
And not
Listen.
just lesbians, like straight women too. They're like, oh,
Right.
we can do this now.
But on the lesbian and the LGBTQ front, like
Yeah.
Army, if you're listening, which I'm sure they are because
Yeah.
they listen to everything now,
Yeah.
make it a competition. Just be like, here's the L team, here's the G team, here's the B team, here's the T, whatever. Just get them. This is how companies work internally. They just like get them all to be like, okay, this is the, like, in Apple, they're like, oh, you're the iPhone team. And that's like the iPad team or whatever. Just let people like rally around something. They get really excited. And then they get to go on the war and be like, whoever kills the most Nazis wins like, extra medals. People get to just go all out. It's always a good idea to let people express their identities like within the confines of like your organization.
Even if it's violent.
Yeah. Especially if it's violent, because you're rallying them towards the common cause of killing Nazis. And then and then they have franchise opportunities, like we were saying, that they could go and like, improve other areas. San Francisco became much better as a result of it. It contributed to the actual identity of that city.
The tech industry would not exist without the way San Francisco
absolutely
is built
not.
up.
Absolutely
nowhere else in the
not.
country would have been like, do whatever you want.
No. You've heard me ramble about this for quite some time about like what the tech industry has tried to come in and essentially like like piss all over the legacy of like what that community has, not the tech community, but the LGBTQ community of queer people who have built that city and have built that community and the things that allow to transpire. Anyway, sorry. Now I'm getting. I'm getting mad. I'm just
by the way, you said the LGBTQ cucumber.
The cucumbers
community,
which
I wanted to just make sure no one missed that you said cucumber.
I love cucumbers. The cucumber community. Sorry, I'm getting riled up now, and I'm like,
this is what
it's good. I will not let the San Francisco. I will not let like the history of the Bay Area and San Francisco be taken away by these sycophantic, disgusting people who are awful.
It was absolutely created by a group of people who wanted everyone to feel at home and welcome, and now everyone's being driven out.
I'm just getting riled up.
No. Anyway, that's my time.
That was awesome.
I wish I could talk about each and every one of these women. They're all amazing. And you can look up interviews by that same guy. He talked to a bunch of them. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
Before they all died. Anyway, what?
Not in war, just from like age or whatever, right?
From age, yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, before they all died from like the hands of Nazis. This is what I thought for a second. I was like, oh, that was bleak. It's a bleak ending.
There were some that went on to be spies, which I would have loved to do an entire series on. But,
yes.
Yeah. And then I got reading about Marlene Dietrich and how she was a spy and a lesbian. I didn't know that.
I didn't know much about Marlene Dietrich.
Okay, what do you have for me? today.
All right. That was a much cooler tab than I'm ready to do, but I'm going to do mine anyway.
Yeah, that's what this show's about.
Yeah. I'm going to power through it. Anyway.
I hope it's dumb.
No,
I want it
it's
to be
not.
dumb.
It's somewhat
not.
dumb. It is dumb. It's always,
Okay.
everything I do is always a little bit dumb.
It's like that time when you did a really nice tab and then I did one on poop, professional farting, and I wanted to die. I was like, just
now I'm like, I wish I had, that was such a cool, I like the idea of like what you're going to do over the next few weeks too. I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
What you
But you're totally open to also join in if you want.
Next week I'm gonna be like, so I had this idea that I came up with that's very original.
It's about the Women Army Corps.
Army Corps. No, okay. So if you remember, which I'm sure you don't, last week my tab was about the American National Exhibition of 1959.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Quick recap: it was all about like the Khrushchev thaw and how the USSR and USA put on like mini World's Fair conventions to sell capitalism and communism to the general populations of the others populations respectively. If you also remember, I started off by saying that the way I found that tab was through researching context for another tab. That's how I started off. So it was like a Russian nesting doll of tabs, if you will.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Will.
Anyway, so the next tab doll up will be the subject of today's tab.
Yes, I love this kind of stuff.
About an event that was sensationalized in the press and subsequently on the internet.
Okay.
The headlines oversold the premise. And technically, the following tale is true. And by true, I mean false. It's all lies, but they're entertaining lies. And in the end, isn't that the real truth? The answer is no. Yeah, no, it's when Leonard Nimoy was on The Simpsons. Anyway.
Oh, look.
You're usually good with Simpsons quotes.
I know. It's upsetting.
No,
I always feel
this
like
is true.
my cred has been stripped from me whenever I'm like, what's that from? But I like to blame COVID. I truly do. I
should say that everything. the what is it called? The headline is misleading, but it's technically correct. But we here at 500 Open Tabs, we scoff at the mainstream media's attempt to stimulate our dopamine receptors because we understand context.
We do. We're almost obsessed with it.
We are. Listen, you can call me. Yeah.
We're obsessed with it.
We're obsessed with it. But nevertheless, I think we're going to edge sis because I think it's still a really interesting story. This tab is about the time in 1989 that for a brief moment on paper, PepsiCo, the corporation that makes Pepsi Cola, Mountain Dew, and Dr. Pepper, possessed the 6th largest fleet in the world after acquiring 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer from the Soviet Union.
What? It sounds like a Mad Lib.
It does.
Like, wait, what? PepsiCo? First of all, I'm a PepsiCo girl. Dr. Pepper all the way. Yeah.
Hot take. Interesting. So how on earth did something so insane even come to be?
Right. Besides it being the late 80s when literally anything could happen and be normal. But
what's our favorite word, Hannah? Context, baby. That's why we're here.
Yes.
You know what? You just call me a context creator because I love context so much.
That's a great idea, actually.
We should just be context creators.
They don't call you
Screw content. Give me context. Context Covetarian. Yeah.
Because you know what? We need context now more than ever.
That's true.
Who better than two cartoonists who love to read a lot?
One college dropout and the other with anger issues about like really small things.
Oh, hey, don't take that away from me. Yeah. I also have anger issues.
Oh, that's true. Both of us. Anyway, so now we go back in time to guess when.
World War II.
No, the American National Exhibition of 1959.
Sorry, I was still thinking about
your tab. Whack.
We go back to the American Exhibition.
Back to the American Exhibition. So our story begins with an ambitious corporate executive named Donald Kendall.
Okay. That man, it sounds like an NPC.
He does. He started his career as a worker in a Pepsi Cola bottling plant, but didn't feel like he was enough. So Kendall quickly climbed the corporate ladder.
I just got it. I'm getting it now.
Thank
Kendall's
you.
a family name for my family, so I didn't even register it.
Ken Doll, as in the doll named Ken, who's not enough. Ken.
Smooth down there, Ken.
Played by Ryan Gosling in the Barbie movie. Mm-hmm. Ken Doll, he became head of the company's international division in 1957.
Whoa.
And dude was barely in his mid-30s when the Khrushchev thaw was first melting hearts and minds on its way over to the United States.
Wow. Beautiful.
And like I said, over 450 companies jumped at the opportunity to be a part of the convention in Moscow. For reasons I'm not quite clear on, Coca-Cola declined to participate, apparently because they hate money. I don't know.
That's confusing, because I feel like they'd be the first to be like, add me to this, because Coke is America.
Coke is America. Cocaine is also American. I don't know why Coke didn't want to be part of it, but doesn't matter. Where Coke saw too much risk, Kenny Dollface saw a huge opportunity. It was like, Dadoy, we'll be there.
Me and Dr. Pepper will be there. I always picture Dr. Pepper as being a man, by the way, who's like dressed in old-timey clothes.
Sexist. Wow. Why? Because a woman can't be a doctor, Hannah?
Yeah.
I'll have you know that my female eye dentist, my eye dentist is a woman.
Oh, good job.
Does that threaten you that there's a woman eye dentist?
Yes, because I wanted that job. I wanted the job of that. Can't even remember the name. Optometrist.
It's eye dentist forever. So, Kendall Jenner has taken on this huge gamble, and he's gotten PepsiCo.
I loved her last Instagram post.
I didn't see what it was.
Didn't either. I just
I assumed that you were a devout follower of Kendall Jenner.
Oh, no.
She was also in the Pepsi commercial, don't forget.
Oh, that's right. Everyone was like, what is this?
BLM, where she's like, we solved
Timothy Chalamet.
Look at you. You're up to date on all the hot gossip.
I listened to a celebrity gossip podcast, which is...
Do you really?
Yes.
That's really funny.
It's a fun one. It's page 7. Holden McNeely.
Ah, okay. Cool. Anyway, so Kendall Jenner basically gets PepsiCo to spend all their money to get like an Artist Alley booth or whatever in Moscow, but it's like in row Q and it's at the end of the aisle, and the people around him have like giant neon displays, and someone's playing music really loud. He's facing the wall, and he's just like, oh no. And he's kind of freaking out. And the night before the opening, he goes to the American embassy and he's hanging with our VP, Ricardo
Nixie.
Millhouse of Pain.
Millhouse of Pain Nixon at his Soviet pool party.
He's like, bro, my bosses are up my ass and they think this is a giant waste of money. And if fortunes don't turn around, I'm toast. My whole career is on the line.
How am I going to pay for daycare?
How am I going to pay for...
This con isn't going to help me with daycare.
It's not going to help you do anything. I got bills to pay. But lucky for Donnie, he had old Dickie Nixie in his corner.
You know what? We're speaking in a different language.
We are. It's all code. Richard Nixon had his back.
I just realized, wait a second. We're like 5 jokes deep right now. And if someone's just listening to this, they're going to be like, what are we talking about?
Listen, take a moment to listen to last week's episode if you have not yet done so. I figured that should be obvious. But
Nixon.
Richard Nixon he got Richard Nixon in his corner. And he's like, I got you, boo. Don't even trip. You're rolling with the Yorba Linda Killers now. We sticks together. I swear I didn't want to do another Nixon tab. And he's gonna be in it.
You can't help it.
But look, it ends up being part of it.
A certain part of the century, he's going to be in it somehow.
He's going to be part of it, and he's threaded into this. And sure enough, the next day, when the exhibit opened, and Nixon, remember, he's showing off all the different booths, and it's making way to the kitchen debate. Yeah, with Khrushchev, because they do this like tour. Yeah. Again, go listen to the last episode if you don't know about this. I get into detail about all this. On the way there to where they end up having the kitchen debate, he stops for a moment, and he's like, all this talking sure is making me thirsty. How about we pop over to this very special booth? Urgh. And he steers the premiere to the Pepsi booth where the homeboy, Kendall Roy, was eagerly awaiting.
Perfect. Love that show. So Nixon pretty much added him in a tweet with the Soviet Union.
Yeah, he basically brought him over.
Just like, by the way, here.
By the way, he's like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit thirsty. How about we stop here at this booth?
I'm going to drink the less good Coke.
And Kendi Williams, he's ready, right? He wasn't just going to leave things up to chance. He is a capital B boy boss who took control of his own destiny. He comes up with what appears to be the first spark of what would go on to become the Pepsi Challenge. Except for this, he prepares 2 cups of Pepsi, one made with American water, the other with Soviet water, both having been de-Stalinized, of course.
Oh, you are...
Yet another joke from last week. This whole thing is just a repeat.
You're really using your talent for word association to its fullest. Each name is different, but not quite. Too different from the last time.
De-Stalinized water.
It like scratches an itch in my brain where I'm like, yeah, that does make sense. Let's move. Let's call Kendall Jenner Roy. Let's add more names.
Kendi Williams.
I don't even remember who this person's real name is.
I literally have that note halfway through my script where I'm like, I've had too many different versions of Ken and I don't remember what his man's actual name is. So I had to include it again halfway through. So I just remembered what it was. Okay. Khrushchev takes them both down and proclaims that he preferred the Soviet Pepsi, but was otherwise indifferent. He was eager to get to the debate, but this may have just been a side effect. Remember, he's being a hater. This is the two sides were there to spew haterade in like a public relations kind of political way. So even if he did like it, he wasn't about to give the Americans the satisfaction. Yeah, he's not going to go be like, great, delicious. He's got to be water. Stoic.
What did they expect of him?
Khrushchev's son, by the way, later recalled that many Russians' first take on Pepsi was that it smelled like shoe wax.
I mean...
But it was memorable, even after the exhibition was over. But none of that mattered. None of it mattered, because Dickie Nixie had led Khrushchev straight into another pool party, the press pool. In a perfectly timed picture, Khrushchev is taking a swig of Pepsi with Ricardo watching on, as Kendall himself is pouring another cup in the foreground.
Send this to me immediately.
I'm sending it to you. Yep.
Oh, can't wait for this. Okay. There's no way. No way. It's exactly how you described it. Look at that. He's just like, here, have some more Pepsi. Richard Nixon looks like he is like laser focused on Khrushchev drinking that Pepsi. Almost like suspiciously, I'd be like, have you poisoned this Pepsi?
Exactly.
You look insane, Richard.
And then there's a guy sitting next to them who I have no idea he is, but he looks like he's like an extra from The Godfather 2. Like he's some guy that Hyman Roth hired to go kill someone. I don't know, but it's just some guy.
This snapshot combines so many things that just shouldn't make sense, but do, you know?
Exactly.
It's like a tiny slice of time.
Of a moment in time.
I love this.
And this proved to be the PR miracle that Kendall was looking for. In an instant, Khrushchev becomes the world's largest Pepsi brand ambassador. Not formally, but they're basically just like, check it out. We went to Russia and even Khrushchev is drinking Pepsi. Everyone's talking about it. It's a meme. Amazing. Kendall's gamble had paid off. And in 1963, he became Pepsi's president and chief executive officer.
Nice, I guess.
This is basically like before, I think by the time he's like 40 years old. Like this is like the biggest thing
that's
ever
insane.
Happened, right?
Why aren't you the CEO of Pepsi? You're 42. Come on.
It's true. I'm just falling behind every day. I'm the CEO of I don't know what's like the knockoff colas that are in the grocery store. I don't know what they're called. Shasta. No, but not even Shasta, like the one that's like the Safeway brand of soda, where it's like Dr. Pop or whatever. Kroger. Yeah, I'm not even the president of Kroger. Yeah. I'm the president of that division that makes the Coca-Cola that no one likes. Everyone gets laid off because of my bad leadership. Anyway.
I would be the worst CEO. I'd be like, I don't know, the vibes are this, so let's do that immediately.
Why don't we just pay people more? I don't need a private jet.
I don't need all this money.
Yeah, what's this
for? Get rid of her.
So he's president by 1963. But you know who didn't become president by 1963?
Who? Nixon.
Richard Nixon. He famously sweat his way to the losers table.
At El Adobo.
Yeah, at El Adobo. After Brain Worms' much more charismatic uncle famously beat him in the 1960 race.
Man, the Kennedys are a very varied family.
Complicated legacy. What's worse... Nixon tries running for governor of California in 1962. Also lost that race. Did you not know that? He ran for governor. Lost.
I feel like I must have known that, but what a loser.
That was part of his whole, he's like, you don't have Nixon to pick on anymore. Like he basically like goes off into the wilderness. You've heard that speech.
I have. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I did know this. I just think I always associate California with Reagan because it's
both.
Is also from California. I don't know. I just kind of forgot about Nixon.
Well, technically Nixon was never governor of California, so you're not incorrect.
No, I know, but that's true.
You ran.
That's true.
And it seemed that Dickie Nixie's Soviet pool party had all dried up.
Gonna come to an end.
Kendall, don't forget, he had sworn a blood oath to the Yorba Linda boys with a Z. He was ride and die.
Lightly.
Exactly.
You don't take that lightly.
Serious, ride and die. Nixon had his back when he was a lowercase g, and now that he was top dog, it was time to return the favor.
Mm-hmm.
So Kendall put word out on the street that whichever law firm hired Nixon would also get Pepsi as a client with its annual billings in excess of $3 million. This is true. He straight up vouched for Nixon.
Pretty much bribed almost. We're like,
yeah, he used his connections to be like, any firm that hires Nixon, you get Pepsi as a client.
This is blowing my mind.
You know why? Because that's how the Yorba Linda boys roll.
That's how they roll.
Exactly.
Nepotism.
Once you're part of that group, it's a blood oath for life.
I can't wait to see what kind of gangs rise up in our ADHD for-profit prison that we're going to start. Remember that?
I would be like, I don't want to be part of one prison. I don't want to be part of one gang. I don't want to be part of all of them. We would just have one. The whole prison would be a gang. Everybody would get along.
Everyone just crippled by it. It's just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know which gang to go to. We'd be
so bad at running a prison. That would be awful. None of our prisoners would form gangs. They'd be like, I don't need to have a gang. I have activities. Yeah. This is nice. Let's all get along.
This is fine. Oh, they escaped.
Share information. That's fun. Let's figure out how he escaped. That's interesting. Let's see if we can improve the escaping mechanism. Yeah.
How can people escape better?
Yeah. Look, I figured out how to build a slide with a spoon. Can we make a better one for the rest of them to get out? Brain rot. We're the worst. Anyway, eventually, New York City law firm Mudge, Stern, Baldwin, and Todd agreed to fold Dickie into the mix and added his name to the stationery. The worst name I've ever heard.
Mudge folding Dickie into the mix is the worst sentence I've ever heard. Awful. Pure garbage. That is the nastiest sentence. Oh.
And just like that, Nixon's back, baby, and richer than ever.
Richard than ever.
Richer than ever. No more Popov vodka martinis with tortilla chips.
Wow.
And for a minute, Nixon was actually a mouthpiece for Pepsi. I didn't know this.
No, me either. I think the Watergate tapes kind of overshadowed most of the things. I think him saying some insane things publicly
it covered up his legacy. He traveled around doing Pepsi business, making connections, and secretly planning his comeback. And
while he's being a brand ambassador for Pepsi.
Okay, this is my favorite fact about Nixon in this story. Okay.
Okay.
In one of his first major appearances for Pepsi, Nixon went to Dallas for a Pepsi bottlers convention on November 21st.
No.
1963. The day before JFK was assassinated. That's why Nixon is in Dallas, is because of a Pepsi convention, Pepsi Bottler Con 63. That's why Nixon's there.
Give me a second. Wait. No way. Yeah. He's in Dallas.
He's in Dallas. You know, there's the conspiracy. There's three future presidents.
Yeah.
It's Nixon and George H.W. Bush and LBJ.
Right.
It's
they were all in Dallas.
They were all in Dallas on the same day. The reason that Nixon was there because of Pepsi.
PepsiCon.
PepsiCon. A bottlers convention.
Did he cosplay as a Pepsi bottle? He's looking at identifying Kennedy's body dressed as a Pepsi bottle.
He's all dressed up as Khrushchev for this one. He's wearing the hat and the bathing suit all the way up to his nipples.
All the way up to the nipple bathing suit. Okay, I just can't believe that. That is...
blew my mind.
Sometimes things just are there, perfectly aligned.
But, okay, it gets even funnier because no one gave a shit that he's there.
Hold on. On a PepsiCon, at the same moment, the president of the United States is getting shot in the head.
Uh-huh.
That's America. That's America. Right there.
That's Nixon, baby.
That's Nixon. Okay, go on.
But it gets worse. Nixon's not even the top dog in his own entourage for Pepsi. The bodyguards stationed at Nixon's hotel in downtown Dallas were there to protect Oscar-winning actress Joan Crawford, who was a member of the Pepsi board of directors.
Joan Crawford? She was also there?
She's also there and a part of the Pepsi board.
You know what? I wish I were there.
Nixon, second billing. He doesn't even matter. They're like, who cares? You're a loser.
I wish I were there not because I want to stop the second bullet or whatever. Yeah. I want to see what Nixon looks like at a Pepsi convention.
Amazing.
I don't care if JFK dies. I just want to see Nixon.
I want to see a feature film that's about Nixon's day in Dallas, like the 24 hours in Dallas, him going to the convention. They don't even mention it.
You just see it on the news in certain scenes. They never talk about
in the background.
He's just at a PepsiCon. Some of his Secret Service is talking on a phone, be like, "Oh no," and he just happened having Pepsi.
It's just there. Listen, people say, people talk a lot about with comedy, you got to study, you got to study this comedian, that comedian. I'm like, you should.
Nixon.
But history is just this. This is the funniest man, one of the funniest people ever. Just insane. Everything about his life is every time I learn something, and we're what are you talking about? Nixon's there at a bottling convention the day that JFK gets assassinated. What?
Like, I just want to, like, map out their movements. Like, when did they get close enough to each other to be like, you know what I mean? Like, where was... I know we're focusing a lot on this, but I truly can't stop. I can't stop.
It's too absurd.
I can't handle this. I need this to... I want to be there. I want to be there.
To be a fly on the wall. Anyway, so Nixon... It's not even super important to the story, but I just had to think.
The Zapruder film in the background.
Nixon like Zapruder sipping the different bottling
in a cosplay for Pepsi, dressed as Khrushchev. Okay, please move on. Go on.
So Nixon bides his time. Unfortunately, JFK and MLK get assassinated. LBJ gets us into Vietnam. Americans become divided, except for some insane reason on the prospect of Richard Nixon becoming president, resulting in the first modern realignment of the Republican Party. And just like that, the Yorba Linda boys are back on top.
Oh, so he's president now, and
now he's president, and guess who Richard brings with him?
PepsiCo Kendall,
the Don of Pepsi, Mr. Kendrick himself.
So we have been, Mr. K. We have been this way forever.
Back and forth. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And it takes a couple of years of lobbying and finessing.
Like soft drink Elon Musk at the White House?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, probably less ketamine, but...
Way less ketamine.
Less ketamine and pissing your pants, according to what I was reading this morning. But and ecstasy and whatever, nothing matters
Cocaine.
Anymore. Cocaine, yeah. But it takes a couple of years of lobbying and finessing and whatever. But finally, by 1972, Kenji Lopez Alt figures out a way to cut through all of the red tape and get Pepsi into the hands of the Red Army.
Oh, okay.
How does he do it?
I don't know.
Remember, you can't just sell to Russia at that point. And even if you did, the value of the ruble is like unstable at best.
Right.
Right? But Ken Burns isn't president of the US or the USSR. He's president of PepsiCo.
Don't even know what you're talking about anymore. Ken Burns, the documentarian?
Donald Kendall, who is the president of PepsiCo.
Oh, that's right. Donald. His name's Donald.
Donald.
Okay,
I didn't want to talk
Ken
about the name
Burns.
Donald. I don't like Donald. Kendall I could deal with. Donald I couldn't.
Kendo.
Kendo.
Kenny G.
Kendall. Kenny G. That also comes in later, by the way. I went through a list of all the different Ken variations
I'm
I could think
sure
of.
you did.
I liked
I'm
Kenji
so
Alt
happy.
Lopez, too. That was fun.
I like that one.
But remember, he's not president of the US or the USSR. He's president of PepsiCo, which means his thinking isn't limited to the next election. He's got to think in decades and like centuries and all that. Empires are going to rise and fall, but people will always drink sugary crap water that gives them diabetes. That's a human value that's going to outlast all of us.
That is something we can all rely on. Isn't that beautiful?
It's gorgeous. I love it. It gives me hope for the future if there ever is one. There's not. So he negotiates a 10-year deal that would exchange equivalent values of Pepsi for Soviet vodkas made by Stolichnaya and Sovetskaya.
Whoa.
And not only that, Pepsi would also become the first American soft drink available in the USSR, and the deal locked Coca-Cola out of the Soviet market for those 10 years.
Honestly, genius.
Exclusive rights. Yeah.
Genius. That is, go to the enemy and pitch them your product before anyone else.
This, my friends, is what people mean when they say your politicians can't really do shit in the end because a giant multinational corporation is always going to do just whatever the shit it wants and will figure out a way to make money with whoever they want, regardless of the official stance of the country. To paraphrase Dr. Ian Malcolm of Jurassic Park, corporations find a way.
That's true, though. At the end of the day, there are no presidents. Nope. There are corporations.
There are presidents of corporations and CEOs.
There are presidents, but there's no, what we think of as a world leader in America.
PepsiCo. Yeah.
It's just, there's corporations, just money.
My favorite explanation of Donald Kendall comes from, of all people, Henry Kissinger, who said, quote, this is rich. The businessmen in this country are a disgrace. Look at Kendall of Pepsi Cola. He would sell the country for a contract.
From Kissinger, that is rich.
Rest in Pepsi piss. Yeah.
Rest in Pepsi.
Pepsi piss. Pepsi.
Pepsi piss. Nope. Wow.
He
Kissinger
found his values beneath him.
Then that is something.
More like Pissinger.
Pissinger, more like Henry Pissinger. Cannot believe he lived to be 100.
Disgusting. But thankfully he's dead now.
Thank goodness.
He's getting 69 by Reagan. But it wasn't all smooth sailing from there.
Okay.
Activists in Congress linked U.S.-Soviet trade and human rights to block a planned 75% reduction of U.S. tariffs on imports, including those of Stolichnaya. Additionally, PepsiCo aggressively marketed Stoli as an authentically Soviet vodka, which of course left it open to boycotts whenever people decided they hated the Russians again.
Yeah. Wow, boycotts worked sometimes?
Boycotts work, right? It's so strange. It was a risky move for them to align. But nevertheless, Pepsi edge-sisted and their Soviet market continued to expand.
Thank goodness.
By 1985, they had built 16 bottling plants in Russia.
Holy cow.
And by the 80s...
4 years out from Berlin Wall?
Yeah, about 4 years before that. That's where it's sort of the peak of how
89. That's where we're... Okay.
Yeah. This is by 85, they had built 16 plants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And by the 1980s, Reagan and his sweatpants had made everything only a little bit harder for the company trying to do, or any company really trying to do business in the USSR.
Which is the only time Reagan's going to make anything hard. Except for Henry Kissinger and
Speak for yourself. Oh. Some of us love seeing those sweatpants.
What did they say on the secret live stream? Oh, that they were full of loose chili.
Ew, that's right. But they were tucked into his socks, so they couldn't just drip out directly. So they were filling the socks. Oh, it was the worst, most cursed image. But, Gorbachev comes to power and he's setting the scene for perestroika. Stuff starts to open up a little bit, but still not completely open. And this is exactly what Ken Jennings was planning all along.
Love his run on Jeopardy.
He had been playing the long game. He was a true capitalist and believed that eventually the USSR would have to come to the table and properly open itself up to the Western powers, which of course he was correct. They did.
Yeah.
And all this time spent laying the groundwork of building factories and relationships and dealing with this annoying ass trade bullshit and complications there would eventually pay off. And Pepsi would be the first in line to reap the benefits of the Russian market.
Ooh, wow. Of all things, of all the different products from America, Pepsi.
And by 1989, kind of like we were talking about, this is when the writing's on the wall, the Berlin Wall, to be more specific, which was falling.
Literal writing, a lot of writing.
And the Stoli deal was not paying off in the way that Pepsi had hoped. So they had to come up with some other shit to trade. And the USSR is like, you know what? Got a bunch of Navy ships and shit lying around. You could just sell them for scrap or whatever if you want.
Forgot about this aspect of it. Oh, okay. So vodka and Kenny, out, old ships in.
Old ships in. And Kenny G is like, I love scrap. I'm trash. Give me scrap. Hook it into my veins. I don't care.
I'm so trash. Henry Kissinger hates me.
Mm-hmm. And this is how Pepsi came into possession of the world's sixth largest naval fleet. But they were just the middlemen. That's all they were. The Russians never handed them keys or anything. They just went straight to a Norwegian shipbreaker instead.
I just pictured playing Civ and getting assigned the nation of Pepsi and then dominating the Byzantine Empire or the Celts.
Just shooting Pepsi into everyone's eyeballs as you fly around. Yeah,
Pepsi cannons.
They're probably more effective than actual missiles or underwater torpedoes.
Oh yeah.
Because they explode.
And they explode and they're hard.
Yeah. Controversial alliance formed with Pop Rocks as Pepsi
Pop
makes
Rocks
new
and Pepsi have teamed
torpedoes.
Up to annex the United States of America. The annex Canada for the U.S. Thanks, Pop Rocks.
Thanks. So what's interesting is when you read about it, it's kind of presented as this desperate moment for everyone. That the Soviets are so there's nothing left and all they can do is sell their warships and Pepsi's willing to do whatever and blah, blah, blah. But it's actually kind of a big moment for all parties involved. Yeah. And it's very symbolic because Cold War arms being traded for a capitalist diabetes delivery system is actually more of an indicator about what the next era is going to be.
100%. It's it really is okay. This is the end of what we knew. And now this is how the world works.
Not only that, but it's we no longer need ships. That's not what the next war is. The next war is going to be, it's a capitalist war. It's about commerce. It's about this is how you control things. It doesn't matter how many. Yeah, that kind of crap. They're these don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It's very viscerally kind of people fixate on the point of Pepsi having a fleet, which again is funny, but it's ultimately
it's funny, but
it's actually a lot more dark.
It's almost like they're you know when you, in whatever mythology, you die and there's the guy who takes, Greek, when you get in the boat and the riverboat guy takes you across the river Styx.
Oh, to the river Styx. Yeah.
Pepsi's that guy.
Yeah.
From modern warfare. Or from Cold War era. That's what it feels like. It's just like, let me escort you out because this is the new way of doing things. And I don't know. I pictured it very creepy like that.
And this is not like a last minute thing. This is essentially has been the plan. So like this is the culmination of like 20 years, not longer than that at this point, right? This is like 30 years that this dude's been thinking about it, essentially about like, how do you get into Russia? How do we get to this market? This is eventually going to pay off. 30 years this dude has been in like running Pepsi, and he finally gets to do it where it's like it's in the market, and then now it finally becomes like a proper thing.
He gets their ships.
Their symbol
of power.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Also, I do love the fact that I picture a bunch of Pepsis. Not people, but Pepsis running that ship.
Pepsi specifically, yes. Yeah. Bottles. I feel like there's commercial. It feels like a bowling alley animation of just like Pepsi bottles just being like, and then like pressing a button, and then the bottle goes and explodes, and it's like,
you
strike.
Roll a Pepsi down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This was the first smaller deal, but soon after there was an even bigger deal of like naval ship for scrap parts in exchange for which Pepsi negotiated to allow Pizza Hut into Russia, which unlocked a core memory. I don't remember if you remember this, of the Gorbachev Pizza Hut commercial from the 90s. Do you remember this?
Sounds very familiar.
Dear God, it is even more insane and unhinged than I remembered.
Oh, I remember this. I didn't put it together. I didn't put it together. That's who it was. That's Gorbachev. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's just like chilling with a family at Pizza Hut. Okay, I do remember this.
I remember that from when I was young, and I was like, why is Gorbachev like slanging Pizza Hut? It's crazy.
Thought it was
it's
some
like
random old man, because I was still young-ish.
Yeah.
I just saw some dude. I thought it was in Russian for fun. Wasn't it in Russian? Am I remembering right?
Yes, it's right. It's in Russian. It's basically these two dudes debating of like, Gorbachev like ruined this country, and the guy's like, he gave us freedom, and he's like, no, but he took away our freedoms. And the other's like, but he gave us this thing. And then there's like a lady that's at the table, and she's like, but he brought us all Pizza Hut. And then everyone's like, you're right, Pizza Hut. And then the guy stands up, and they're like, cheers, all hail Gorbachev for bringing us Pizza Hut. And Gorbachev is like sitting with the table with his granddaughter. And apparently contractually he was like, I'm not going to eat Pizza Hut for this commercial. I refuse. But if my granddaughter wants to take a bite of it, she can, because you need to have somebody biting into it. So that's what the contract negotiations were.
That's insane.
And then they asked,
this just like I just glossed over this. No idea.
Fun fact, they recorded it, or they filmed like parts of the exterior or whatever there. They never actually aired in Russia. It was only meant for the States.
Really?
Yeah. But at that time, Gorbachev was like trying to raise funds for like a library, like a presidential library or whatever of something. He's like, I don't care. He's like, they'll give me $1 million. That's going to like help people be able to sift through all this stuff. So it's like, good for you, bro.
None of my people will see it. The internet's not going to exist in a way that everyone can see this in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It's fine. Dude, that is wild.
At that point, it was like it started to go into like the history of Pepsi in Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union and the exchange of the ships and stuff. But I was like, I'm not doing a whole
that's
30 minutes
next
about this.
Week. While I do an LGBTQ series, you do corporations in Russia.
Corporations in Russia. Anyway, I just thought that was, like I said, the idea of like this kind of soft power that Pepsi had, and like the persistence of like 30 years of him still doing it. And obviously it didn't go well for Russia in the 90s, unfortunately.
No.
In terms of like their transition out of it.
Yeah, rocky. That is fascinating. I love that. Yeah, I loved that. Thank you. Is that the end of the tab? Or should I say thank you too soon?
Yeah, no. That's the end of my tab.
I thought so much.
The lead up to it was so much more interesting than just like Soviet Union has Pepsi ships. That's it.
It's still that the cultural context behind it is fascinating. And I'm still obsessed with the idea of Nixon being in Dallas in November 1963.
Unbelievable. Not even top billing.
Not even, like fifth billing.
Joan Crawford outclassed the guy. Yeah. They're like, we don't care about Nixon. Who gives a shit?
Nixon? You mean the loser from California who keeps losing? Wow. Okay. Okay. Should we move on to listener mail? Oh, no, we got to close.
We should close our tabs. Do we shoot them with like
what are we gonna do?
Like Pepsi Pop Rock torpedoes?
Yeah.
I feel like those ones. I mean, they're both military themed, so we got to have like torpedoes.
We got to have some sort of torpedo, but like then also, let's just do a torpedo.
Okay. Ideally Pop Rocks. You want to count us down?
Pop Rocks. Maybe add some pop rocks to it. Yeah. Okay. I count us down.
Yeah.
3, 2, 2, 1. They were both military themed. Interesting.
Anyway, moving on. I believe you're up first.
This email is from Scott from Kansas City. Dear Hannah and Kaveh, this will be the second time I've written to you, as you previously read my tab on the Great Molasses Flood.
All right.
Yeah, remember that? My wife and I
do.
really enjoy your podcast. She's on the Discord. And it just so happens she made
What?
this. The
Oh, that's
500
so funny.
open tabs, the cross stitch or embroidery.
Nice.
And we watch it together every Wednesday.
Oh,
How did
God
I
bless you
discover
for
this?
signing up for
Thank
the YouTube
you.
and subscribing.
Everyone go subscribe to the YouTube so we can start, having ads.
Generating cents. Tens
like
of cents,
5
like our
cents.
listeners. Yeah,
Give
dozens.
us 1 cent.
Tens of listeners, tens of cents.
Tens of cents. Okay. How did I discover this tab? Long story short, I was digitizing the U News, a student newspaper from UMKC, and I was clipping interesting ads and articles. My wife shared the pizza ads in Discord. Do you remember that when all those crazy old pizza ads were shared? Right after you did the pizza box thing, I think.
Oh,
anyway.
That was before I did my move, so I've forgotten everything. I did
nothing exists. And I was clipping interesting ads and articles to share with my friends and colleagues for fun. One caught my attention, the attached picture, and I've included it in there. And the attached picture says, "College girls cheer Hadacol." And a bunch of ladies, pictures of ladies.
Senator Dudley J. LeBlanc, the best friend you ever had. The guy on the bottom of the page. Who's that guy?
You're about to find out why this guy sucks. The name Hadacol.
He looks like a douche. He looks like the kind of eye dentist that would take advantage of you when you're put under.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like him at all. He has a scary look to him.
I don't trust his face at all. I have no idea anything about this guy, but immediately I'm questionable.
You shouldn't. The name Hadacol struck me because I remembered a band with that same name, but didn't know there was a medicine named that. So, like you do, I searched for it. Turns out there was an interesting story behind it. Hadacol was quote unquote invented by a senator from Louisiana, Dudley J. LeBlanc, who, quote, was not a medical doctor nor a registered pharmacist, but had a strong talent for self-promotion. His company, the Happy Day Company,
classic eye dentist,
which he took Hadacol, Hadaco, because Happy Day Company, had previous products pulled by the FDA for being dangerous to health and falsely labeled. LeBlanc whipped up a lot of promotions to get sales going, i.e. the ad I sent you from the U News, which featured testimonials to the power of the drink, tons of promotional items, a parrot trained to ask for Hadacol, and a musical caravan featuring big names of the time.
He even had a photo of Khrushchev taking a giant gulp of Hadacol.
Hadacol was basically B vitamins, iron, and niacin, but people really bought it because it was 12% alcohol, and that's why they added the the name ended in OL, Hadacol.
Hell yeah.
Basically, the two girls in the ad were drunk. Plus, it gave their home addresses. It gave their home. Back in the day, didn't you know that? Everyone who was featured in the paper, they just put their home address.
Are you shitting me?
No, even into the 90s.
Into the...
Oh, yeah. It took a bunch of kids getting kidnapped for them to stop. I know. So if you ever wrote into something, your address might have been included.
Your home address was just published in the newspaper.
Your phone number. Yeah.
Dear Lord.
I know. Yeah, but then everyone got kidnapped and they're like, maybe we shouldn't put children's addresses in a public paper. How did no one what? Die? They did.
This is so upsetting. I can't.
I know.
I can't. I did not realize that.
Because I read through a lot of old newspapers a lot. And there's addresses. Insane.
Dear God. Okay.
I mean, think about the phone book.
The phone book, you'd have to go look and find people. You're underestimating. You're giving it to them right there in that moment.
This is a photo of a kid. It looks like a pedophile ad. It's like an ad for a pedophile. Anyway,
you gotta hope on that. At least the pedophile will be too lazy to go find the whatever. I gotta go.
Fingers crossed.
My yellow pages are in another room, and I gotta go look for it. And maybe
right.
the
I'm not that. Well, basically, I know.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It wasn't everywhere, but it was in a lot of local papers. And
it was common. Okay.
It was common.
Shit.
Yeah. Yep. And like I found all these old National Geographics. There was one where these kids wrote in and full addresses in like the 30s. Insane. So basically, the two girls in the ad were drunk. Plus, it gave their home addresses. So I guess you could just visit them to ask in person.
Just show up. Yeah, you want a party?
In 1951, LeBlanc sold his part of the company for $8.2 million, according to the inflation calculator. It's $101 million in today's dollars, without disclosing that the company had $2 million in unpaid bills and a $600,000 tax debt, and another $2 million in product out of consignment, which was being shipped back. The FTC stated that the publicity behind the tonic was false, misleading, and deceptive. LeBlanc lost the gubernatorial election in 1952 and tried to make another patent medicine in 1954, but it failed. Thanks for your podcast. I'll see you at the Gwen Stefani tribute toilet.
Yeah.
Or if you do Planet Comic-Con here in Kansas City. Scott.
Planet Comic-Con? Have you done that?
I guess.
You know what that one is? I've never been to that one.
Yeah.
Maybe
so,
if Planet Comic-Con wants to fly us out and give us a free table, we'll come. I'll gladly go anywhere. If you run a convention and you pay for airfare and a hotel and a table,
we'll go.
I'll come.
Yeah.
We'll go wherever.
Anyway, your turn.
Anyway, thank you. That's fascinating. It was weird.
Enlightening.
Also, now my day has been ruined knowing that they used to publish full addresses and names of children in newspapers directly under the byline. And
interested to know what crimes that did lead to. I might go look into that for fun.
Well, countless ones, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dear God. Okay, anyway, moving on. Email number 2 is from, it's Maeve, right? Maeve, as I say. Maeve from the Yay area.
Woo! What's up,
Hello,
neighbor?
Kava and Hannah. I bring you an urban legend about baseball, the curse of the Colonel.
We talk a lot about baseball, by the way.
Yeah, we do. We're
like
bisexual baseball boys. Or
I
one
know.
of us is. Picture it. You're the bisexual, I'm the boy.
Baseball boy. Yeah,
you're the boy. I'm the boy, you're the bisexual.
Into the boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Gross. Go on.
Picture it. You're a member of very drunk, happy fans of the Japanese baseball team, the Hanshin Tigers. It's 1985. They've just won an important game during the Japanese series. On the Ibisu Bridge in Dotonbori, Osaka, the mass of fans yell each individual player's name and have a fan, quote, resembling the player, jump into the river. It's like a roll call kind of thing. One of the important players is an American man named Randy Bass.
Okay.
And there's no one that looks like a white man with a beard in front of the crowd of fans. How will the crowd fix this problem? Who can jump into the river when no one here looks like Randy Bass? Then they spotted him. A white man standing still in front of a Kentucky Fried Chicken chain restaurant on the street. He wasn't Japanese and he had a beard. He was a perfect match. Now, all this crowd needed was for this man to get into the river. Many fans rushed the man who was just standing there, helpless and unaware of what was to come. Together, the crowd lifted the man, carried him close to the river, and threw him in. And down he went, sinking rapidly. He couldn't swim. He couldn't scream. He couldn't even blink.
Oh.
The crowd has taken the Colonel Sanders statue from the storefront and thrown it into the river.
It's like an effigy.
Oh, it's so great. I love it. For the next 18 years, the Hanshin Tigers never placed higher than dead last or almost last in their league.
Oh.
The curse of the Colonel had struck the Tigers. Fans apologized to the store manager. Diving crews and dredgers tried and failed to recover the statue from the river. Until finally, in May 2009, the Colonel statue was discovered. More specifically, the Colonel's remains were found by divers who thought he was a large barrel, then a corpse, before he was identified as the statue of Colonel Sanders.
What a day. What a day that would have been to be that diver. It's like, I didn't just find a body.
The most unhinged picture I've ever
insane.
seen. I'm gonna draw this. I am drawing this. This is the greatest thing. I need a statue. You know what we need to do? We need to get Joe to make a 3D print of this.
3D print of this Colonel Sanders. Please, Joe. This is his
listening.
hands are missing. His legs are missing.
His glasses are missing.
His glasses are gone. Look at the guy holding him. He's like, check this guy out.
It's funny because he's from underwater, but he looks like he just got covered in bird shit.
Yeah, it's all but it's all just like breast or whatever.
Oh my God, it's amazing. While the crew were originally successful in recovering most of the statue, the Colonel's glasses and left hand were still missing. Eventually, the Colonel statue was returned to KFC Japan with replacement glasses in hand.
Oh.
In 2023, the Hanshin Tigers won the Japan series.
Whoa!
The curse was fully lifted. As was tradition, the fans gathered near the river to celebrate, as they always did. One of the many fans who jumped into the river was a man cosplaying as Colonel Sanders. Here's a picture.
Oh, I love Japan. Oh, that is fully a person dressed as Colonel Sanders jumping into the river. No way! How did I not hear about this? This is crazy. There's like there's like thousands of people watching this Colonel Sanders guy jump in.
This is a big thing. You know who owns KFC, if I'm not mistaken?
Who?
It's PepsiCo, if I'm not wrong.
Really?
Right? Pepsi owns KFC.
Oh. All I know is that I grew up near the original KFC in Salt Lake City.
Oh, let's see. Yep, it is PepsiCo. So we could have our own statue of either Khrushchev or of Nixon cosplaying as Khrushchev and just jump into the water. I don't know, into the pool party. How do we cross over a pool party to this? Soviet Pepsi pool party with Khrushchev and KFC. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here, but I'm just telling you.
I don't either. I'm just yes-anding whatever you're saying.
Yes, go.
But here's what I think. I think that we do need to add one of those ships that the Pepsi bought from Russia to the pool party, and it needs to be captained by this Colonel Sanders statue.
Oh, but like a miniature version of it, kind of like the little tugboats that you would have like at a theme park or something. Not tugboats, but like the tiny boats. Like
I just
the bumper
need
boats.
this guy around me.
Yeah, I agree.
Bumper boats. Forgot about those.
The statue was eventually buried on March 8th, 2024, as his condition was difficult to maintain. Keeping it Josie, Maeve.
Buried?
Maeve, that was incredible. I love that he's buried. I don't understand.
Why did they bury him? They're like, we don't want to look at this.
To pay respect, Hannah.
Look, as I always say, just throw me away when I die.
Throw me in the trash.
Well, thank you, Maeve. That was incredible. Absolutely the perfect kind of listener mail that I want to hear.
Yeah, me too. I have to say that's right in the pocket.
And if you want to submit your own, you can write us at 500opentabs@gmail.com, 500opentabs. And you can also try submitting a voice memo that we'll play on the show. But make it short.
Additionally, make it long, short. I don't care. Nothing matters anymore.
Great.
Additionally, you can subscribe to our YouTube. You can subscribe to our Patreon, in which Hannah keeps putting insane, weird clips of us that I don't remember and I've probably forgotten about. On there, you can watch. They're all funny. There's exclusive context. This is gonna be my new word. It's like we're context creators. Exclusive context.
Because it'll give context to the jokes we talk about that we don't remember if we say to you guys or to just us or what.
Yeah. Also, more context. Join the Discord. There's all kinds of new jokes being formed there that formulate or that gestate and become part of the actual podcast, which is funny.
Some of the funnest conversations happen. So the links for all those will be in the show notes, and you can follow me at Hannah Hillam.
And you can follow me at PermaFriends on Instagram, and I'm Covetarian on Blue Sky. Is there anything we wanted to plug before we wrap up today?
I just wanted to say one more thank you to the Women's Army Corps for doing what they did so I could make Boeing sexual jokes now in 2025. And no, I don't have anything else to plug.
Okay. We're still a ways away from anything else. So I guess that about wraps us up. Thank you. Follow us. 500 open tabs on stuff. Subscribe. Thank you, Alyssa.
Rate
us. Tell us we did a good job.
Review.
High five us if you see us.
See you guys later at next week or whatever.
Whatever, Hannah. I'll see you at the Gwen Stefani tribute toilet or at the Nikki Dixie Soviet pool party. With Colonel Sanders.
I'm going to throw Colonel Sanders straight into that pool party. And on that note...
To the bog. Oh, our pool party would be at a bog. Oh, yeah. Again, salute.
Salute to the Colonel Sanders? This is all the military
we're going to salute to the whack.
Whack.
Once again, saluting the whack. Am I supposed to do left hand? I forget. Right hand, right? I don't know. We're so awful. We're going to
both.
Double
We're going to
salute.
do both. Double
Thanks,
salute.
Whack, for your contributions. See you guys next week.